Hey everyone, for Trichomes.com, I'm Ashley Manning, and this is Careers in Cannabis. On this show, we sit down with staffing agencies, cannabis companies, and other industry professionals to discuss employment opportunities in the burgeoning cannabis industry. According to MJ Biz Factbook, the cannabis industry currently employs close to 350,000 employees and is expected to reach 600,000 by 2025. So those who are seeking employment should consider the cannabis industry as an option. However, many questions are out there regarding having a career in cannabis. Where do I start without experience? What's the pay like? What jobs are available? And today's guests dive right into those questions and give real professional and real big brother advice to those considering a career in cannabis. On this episode, we talk with the VP Will Lees and Director Max Snyder of JBC Holdings. JBC Holdings is a global human capital search firm for the world's most innovative organizations. They provide services ranging from temporary and permanent recruitment, talent mapping, and automated payroll software solutions. Hey, Max and Will, welcome to the show.
Hey, Ashley, thanks for having us.
Hey, how are you?
It's good to have you guys here. Before talking with you guys, I hadn't heard about JBC Holdings, and so I'm really excited to get a fresh perspective on the show lineups here on Careers in Cannabis to talk about some of the opportunities that are available to those seeking employment in the cannabis industry. So I love to just get straight to my interviews and cut out with the fluff and everything and get to it. So tell me a little bit about JBC Holdings. How long have you guys been serving the cannabis industry?
So to answer that question, we need to go back a little bit. The reason why you haven't heard JBC Holdings in the cannabis industry, because they have been serving it a little bit, but not full force. So back in 2018, I started a cannabis staffing agency called Connector, brought on Max and several other team members, and we've been serving the industry ever since January of this year when JBC reached out to us. We had a couple meetings and decided that it would be a good marriage to bring the companies together. So they brought on the whole Connector team to further strengthen out their health and wellness and cannabis vertical. So JBC technically has been in cannabis full force since January.
Well, welcome. I know I'm very familiar with Connector and the previous people. Max, I hadn't got the opportunity to meet you while you were at Connector. How are you enjoying being with JBC Holdings?
Oh, it's fantastic, as some would say on our team. No, it's really phenomenal. Just the people and the culture and the support that we have to really do the best we can to serve the industry is phenomenal. It's a good partnership, and we've already made some great headway so far. So couldn't be happier.
Oh,
yeah, they have a long-standing history in retail, fashion, manufacturing, all the things that you would want to join with a company that had those, given that cannabis, those are some major elements of the cannabis industry. So it was a perfect marriage from that standpoint.
Smart choice, add my opinion to that as well. So one of my first questions I love to get into is, I haven't asked anyone this yet in particular, but what are some common career paths you are seeing in the cannabis industry for those who don't have cannabis experience?
Max, you could shoot on that.
Yeah, sure. Typically we see that in more of the finance world. That transition is a little bit more common when we're talking about cannabis opportunities. But generally speaking, we see that also in manufacturing and operations, especially in today's day where a lot of established companies are more interested in bringing someone on who has a, more infrastructure background, either coming from CPG or an established corporate America experience to come in and help them scale. So typically along those three sectors, we see the easiest transition from outside the industry into cannabis is what I've been seeing recently. So,
are they usually staying in the cannabis industry once they're there?
Yeah, well, that's part of our job, right? Like we want to make sure that we manage those expectations on both ends. It's important for us to make sure the candidates are aware of some of the nuances and just the work-life balance of working in a cannabis startup, right? You're jumping into the deep end of unknowns, really. So as long as they're on board with that and they're passionate about the space and they know what they're getting into, then typically they stay for a while.
Yeah,
Good to hear.
I mean, it's no secret that there's a lot of mergers, acquisitions going on in the industry, consolidation. So the company that hires you today literally might not be the same company tomorrow. So you have to get a little comfortable with being uncomfortable from that standpoint. But it's usually a good thing for anyone involved.
Yeah, I do always tell people who reach out, be comfortable with the uncomfortable as well. It seems to be it's reality of it, and because it's uncertain, your job's uncertain, but statistically shown, jobs haven't decreased in the cannabis industry, and it's not like they're disappearing. They're growing. So uh,
Absolutely.
MJ Biz Fact Booked just put out the other day that they're expected by 2025 to employ close to 600,000 employees. That's a lot. That means it's pretty much going to double here in the next, almost double in the next 3 years. So I'm excited
Absolutely.
for
It's
the
exciting.
growth.
Absolutely.
With that growth comes, pay. What should someone expect as a reasonable pay when getting into the cannabis industry?
I'll jump in real quick, and then Will, you can add some color here. Generally, it depends, right? It's so hard just to say this is what someone's going to make. I think it depends on the company, the organization, the skill level, the skill set. It just depends. I mean, Will probably has a little bit more to add to that.
I mean, we're working with anyone from your processors, your trimmers, all the way up to your C-suites and even CEOs. So what is important to know going in, though, is you sometimes may be taking a bit of a pay cut to get into the industry. Like, there's more on the back end than on the front end. This isn't the case with every organization or brand, and it's not consistent at all times. But if you're coming into the industry strictly from a money standpoint or a monetary standpoint, probably not right for you at this time. You're joining with these companies to help them grow, which is obviously the purpose of our business. But you're joining more for the vision of the company and the excitement of the industry to get it to where we all want to get it, which is legalization, and where we all see it, going. But you may have to take a step back and pay, but they're usually loaded on the back end from bonuses, shares, stock, stuff like that for your higher level positions. But don't go in there thinking that you're going to break the bank out the gate. You're going to work for it.
So no Lamborghini this year, huh?
I'm not entirely sure that's possible, but yeah.
I do think you are starting to hear a lot more of those bonuses you mentioned and stock options and shares, and those aren't always available as a company grows and gets larger. They can only offer that to people. So getting in early can help you build those foundations and be able to grow with a company versus growing at the company.
I mean, our job is to sell the vision and the culture of the company to our candidates, right? So the ones who really get it and understand, certainly the payoff does come, and it has come for a lot of people that have joined the industry. As they mentioned, there's a lot of consolidation going on, mergers, acquisitions, and when that happens, things tend to go well for a lot of people that did see the forest for the trees, and they get that payoff. But yeah.
Well, as you're talking about vision, selling a vision, what's your pitch when you're selling a vision to something that's federally illegal to people who are coming from Wall Street, the banking world, these people who are a great asset to compliance people. They're a huge asset to to the cannabis industry. What's your pitch to get them to be okay with working in cannabis?
You could tee that off, right?
Well, I wouldn't say there's much of a pitch more than just managing expectations and really digging deep, really qualifying their interest and the reason why they want to go into the industry in the first place. And from those responses, that tells me whether it's going to be a good candidate for the client and just overall the industry. I mean, kind of back to what I was saying before, it's all about managing those expectations. And yes, there are those, nuances and, possibly fears of entering into an illegal market, so to speak. But there are ways around that, and you can see that today, right? Like, we wouldn't be operating at the level we are if it wasn't doable. And it's really about finding those individuals who bring that experience to the table, that know this and are ready to tackle that challenge.
Yeah, I would say the hiring in general, like across any industry, but certainly in cannabis, has changed from pre-COVID to post, right? So individuals that would get into or want to get into cannabis that we're speaking with, I don't know if I want to have 2-year gap on my resume. What if it doesn't work out and I have to go back? Well, maybe, if you're not going into it with a full head of steam, then maybe this isn't right for you. But now post, companies are having a lot of trouble getting people to come back to work, period. With the whole work from home thing. I mean, there's a lot of things going on in the hiring markets across the board in general. So the least of your worries now is working for a cannabis company, right? I don't see a lot of companies. Sure, there are companies out there that are going to say no if you need to put that on your resume so you don't have a big gap. But the same thing rings true. If you're worried about that, then you're not going into it full force, and it's probably not the best move for you anyway. So it's gotten better over the years. We've been in this game since beginning of 2018. So the conversation has really lessened over the years with that concern. I would say, Max, maybe the finance roles are where you still see a little bit of hesitation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that and just to add to that too, a lot of these individuals, they're intrigued by the challenge, right? It's different than what their day-to-day is, and they're more, expected routine of going into work. Whereas you go into a company that's focused around cannabis, people want the challenge. They want something new. They want to experience and learn as they grow. So that's been a big part of the conversation, and I think generally gains interest into why these people are looking into the industry in the first place.
Yeah, a little sense of rebellion too, which I like. That's part of my favorite part. I feel a little bit, just feels good. I don't know, probably
rebellion. That's the heart and soul of this industry, right?
Right, 100%. Before we get into talking about some of the open opportunities that you guys have, what would be some? I got two brothers now here in front of me. What would be some two brothers' advice regarding having a career in cannabis that you would give?
This is all you, Will.
Sure. I can knock this one out of the park. The current hiring climate right now, again, for any industry and certainly in cannabis as well, it's a candidate's market. But that doesn't mean that there's plentiful jobs, like anybody can just come into the industry. You still need to be qualified for the roles. And if you want to get in on entry level, that's fine for one of your lower level roles and work your way up, which happens a lot in this industry. Is a lot of hiring from within.
Quickly.
But people, because they've got multiple offers, and it's good to be wanted, right? Someone that was interviewing for a job, pre today, maybe, made it to finals, or maybe had one offer or whatever. Now they've got 2 to 3. And there's a bit of playing the offers against one another and not working with your recruiter to get to the finish line, who's working with this company that ultimately wants to hire you, right? So when you commit to something, when you commit to what you want out the gate, your salary expectation, which we always provide that information to our clients, so they know what they're getting into. Make sure when you go through the process, and if the company's committed to you and gotten you to the end, and you've gotten yourself there ultimately, that you actually follow through with it. We're not saying that you have to take it, but be true to your word, be true to your recruiter, let them know if you have other opportunities going on so they can be transparent with their clients, who their companies that are ultimately hiring you. And don't get into a playing this company against the other company kind of thing, because number one, it's going to turn off somebody, if not everybody. And number two, that is not the culture of the cannabis industry. So you're probably going to be out of that opportunity, and which in turn kind of weeds out the people we don't, no pun intended there, but weeds out the people that we don't really want in the industry. But that's my advice. Just tone it down a bit when it comes to that, because things will come back to the mean, and everybody's going to have a fair shot. But that's what we're seeing right now.
Yeah, and just to add to that, to your point exactly, Will, it's a very incestual industry, right? It's everybody kind of knows everybody at some arm's length. So you're totally right on that. It will come back, and hopefully, it won't come back in a negative way. But yeah.
And if you're not being transparent with your recruiter, you're not going to find the right fit. They're not going to be able to fit you in the right place. You can't, I don't know how people could even think not
we're
being
literally
transparent.
here to work for you. Like,
Right.
I mean, granted, there's a fee attached that we work with our clients on, but to our candidates, it's a free service to you, and we're doing everything possible to put you in a position to succeed. So, when you start playing the company that's hiring you and your recruiter against, it never works, to be quite honest.
Do you suggest people using recruiters now with the way the industry has evolved? It seems that would be the best approach into the industry is to use a recruiter.
Absolutely. For some roles, sure. Here's the thing, which is part of what we try to work with our clients on. You post an ad on whatever site, and it could be for a graphic artist or anything across the board. You're going to get anyone from a sandwich artist to street artist or someone who doesn't have any related skill at all applying. So you're going to have within a couple of days, 200, 300, 400 responses. So you are going to be part of a large bunch there. And clients sometimes will only go through the first 50 or so and find the best ones that they see there. So you could literally 200, 300, they never even saw your resume, unless it's something they're constantly hiring for. When working with a recruiting agency, less is more with us. So you're not going to see the most amount of candidates from us, but what you are going to see is spot on. So if we do feel that you're right for the role, you're going to get in front of the client. Does that mean that they're going to bring you on for an interview and ultimately hire you? That's the ball's in their court there. But if we feel that you'd be a good fit, then we're certainly going to give you that opportunity by at least getting you reviewed. So in that sense, yeah, it's better to work with agencies, and we know the process. We actually know the clients we're working with, obviously. So we have good relationships with everyone we're working with. So ultimately, again, free service to you. Why not utilize us to tell? It's like a sports agent for an athlete. They don't negotiate their deals or whenever they're trying to move to a new team or whatnot. It all falls on the agent, and ultimately we are agents for individuals looking for jobs.
So I should tell career seekers, go get yourself an agent. Max and Will are your agents.
There you go.
I like the sound of it.
I like the way that sounds.
Me too.
Me too.
Awesome.
Awesome. Well, let's get into some open opportunities that JBC Holdings has available that people can apply to right away as soon as they hear this interview. Fire one off for us.
Sure.
Max, hit it.
Yeah, I guess on a high level, we do have a couple CFO opportunities available. Those are pretty exciting. Generally speaking, like kind of what we were talking about earlier, finance is a hot topic right now. So if you have a strong finance background or come from one of the big fours, definitely reach out, because there's a huge need to bring you into the industry. We also do things just in different sectors. Like, we placed a pretty big technology role recently. We do a lot of work with testing labs, so more on the technical side with lab personnel for these, either their cannabis, extraction facilities, or they're testing different cannabinoids. But as of, what's currently open, I would say the CFOs, we have a general manager position open right now, which is pretty attractive.
For the general manager, is that for retail? What's part of the supply chain?
For the GM, that's more on the it's more on the manufacturing and production side of things. They are vertically integrated, and they're looking to expand to be a multi-state operator. So, for this perfect example, this client's really looking for somebody who comes from a corporate background with maybe a little bit of cannabis sprinkled on top, and using that person as leverage to implement the right SOPs and be GMP certified and really scale the business in the best way possible. So sometimes the cannabis experience really isn't what they're looking for at this stage in the game.
That's good. Keep shooting off some more.
Yeah, a director of compliance we have, and let's be honest, this industry begins and ends with compliance. So huge role. Anyone with the background where they've worked obviously in that position in cannabis, and that's one of the things where there's not a ton. There's more positions that we're bringing from outside of the industry in than positions that exist in the industry. But this is one of the ones where if you do have that background, huge asset to you. But the ability to work with law enforcement or government officials and that compliance element go into it as well. But we've got positions from always got processing bud tender roles open, and that's one of the positions where if you really do want to take a hit and not really walk back your career, but if you're not able to get in one direction, again, hiring from within is really big. So if you get in there and absolutely crush it in one job, you can literally apply for any job at the company. So once they've hired you on full time, a lot of these positions are temp to hire. So that's maybe a more direct path for someone that can't find their niche getting in another direction.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. To touch on the technical, the compliance position, I've seen a lot in the industry of manufacturers hiring technical writers to read the regulations and the laws, and they're applying that to that position. Is that something that someone could, if they are a technical writer, could they apply for that compliance position with you guys?
Literally, that was a skill
tough,
set
huh?
that was added on to from this client, the technical writing skills. To be quite honest with you, and that's what this is all about, right? It's being as transparent and honest to people as possible. It doesn't mean that you wouldn't get the look, but if you are up against someone that has everything else, it might be a little more difficult. So you got to manage expectations there. But certainly, it is something that's coming up in roles a lot more. So why not? I mean, nothing surprises me anymore in this industry. Literally nothing.
The advancement opportunities starting out as a bud tender, I don't think people realize how quickly you can move up. You show up on time, do your job, take initiative. And everyone knows that in a startup, that they can see who's taking initiative, who can help move the company forward, and advancement can happen very, very quickly in the industry. So,
but to that point, though, not everybody knows that, because there is a lot of turnover at that level. So if you are the
True.
individual that does know that, yes, you can rise to the top pretty quickly. Cream rises to the top.
So should we not tell too many people?
Yeah, if everybody could just take this advice, we'd be doing well. So
just show up, do your job, and go advance.
It's literally that simple. Just please show up, do your job.
It is. Or is there a region that you're noticing more jobs than other regions? Like, obviously, Connecticut just came on board, but I don't believe there's anything in motion going there. But are you noticing specific regions picking up?
I mean, obviously, California, West Coast has always been a big region for us. But East Coast to the Northeast, certainly making a lot of headway. And as you mentioned, a lot more states are coming online in that region. So a lot of work to be done there.
Mm-hmm.
For sure.
Yeah.
Well, couple last questions for you both. How can our listeners apply and reach you guys?
Well, I mean, they can always reach us on LinkedIn. That's kind of where I live and breathe every day. So if there's any interest after listening to our podcast here, definitely reach out to me on LinkedIn, and I'll get right back to you and see what we can do to help you out. Will, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think there might be some job postings on the JBC website as well.
Yeah, there's always postings there. Not every job we have is listed there. Again, reaching out to us on LinkedIn, a great way to get a hold of us. I'm sure you'll post an email or something on the podcast. That's another way. But in this digital age, it's really not hard to track anybody down. So, and we're here to asking to move, or you could be in the industry wanting to make a move. Or just generally want some info. We're here to be a source of information for both our clients and our candidates.
That's great advice. A thought just came to my mind at a squirrel moment. I had someone reach out to me on LinkedIn, said, I've submitted my resume to 5 different recruiting companies and no one's getting back to me. I'm assuming, and maybe you guys can correct me if I'm wrong, that that's not the appropriate way to go about submitting your resume to recruiters.
It depends on how they submitted, right? They just submit to an open job posting that had, 500 other applicants. Did they reach out to somebody directly and kind of blindly send their resume? It's unfortunate that there is this, expectation, or how should I say this? I don't know, bad taste in people's mouths from a recruiting perspective that, we ignore, don't get back. And we absolutely try and change that. So when I hear those things, it makes me, kind of just, because I hate that,
I wasn't sure if it was them, saying, these are all my skill sets that I have. I don't know what position this actually falls under. So help me find a job with all my skill sets.
I mean, in recruiting, there's an element of herding cats at all times. So we are working 24/7. We're to that point, we are always answering emails regardless of the time on the clock. So initiative's good if you've reached out to somebody directly. And if you reach out to somebody directly at JBC as a whole, as an organization, but then our health and wellness team, we're certainly going to get back with you. Now, if you have, on the flip side, applied, same thing happens to us as it does with your clients or your companies, that you may be one of several hundred people. So whether or not we get to that resume that you've submitted and get back to you could take a bit longer, but ultimately we want to give everybody a good candidate experience. So if that has happened with anyone, apologizing for the industry, everybody is looking to give everybody that experience. But take initiative, reach out to someone directly. Most people like that, and that is their easiest path to getting a hold of someone. But again, we're multitasking is the core of this job, so we're working on a lot of things at once, and we'll absolutely do our very best.
Oh, great advice. Do you guys have anything else you'd like to leave off before we head out today?
No, I think we covered a few things. I mean, at the end of the day, this is just a new space. Everyone's trying to figure it out. So going into it, just know that there is no cookie cutter job. You're going to be wearing multiple hats regardless what your title is. And as long as your intentions are there and you understand it's going to be tough work, but you're doing it because you're passionate about it, I think you'll be very happy in the industry. If none of those reasons are why you're looking, I would take a step back and rethink about it.
There you go.
Go play the guitar or something. Right. All right, Max and Will, it's been great chatting with you today. I hope you guys have a fantastic, safe weekend, and I look forward to having you guys back, and I'll let you know when people reach out for some potential jobs
it's been a pleasure. Thank
with
you
you
so
guys.
much for having us.
Stay tuned.
Right, bye-bye.
Thanks.
Hey, thanks for watching our channel. Click here to watch another episode of Careers in Cannabis and more great shows and interviews. To find more cannabis industry reporting, insider stories, and to stay up to date on the latest trends, make sure you subscribe and keep up to date with the Trichomes Community app. Download it now and we'll see you there.